What are your thoughts on their season generally? And I mean, the real question I think fans are asking is Brendan Rodgers really the long-term man for the job?
Yeah, obviously Brendan Rodgers coming back to Celtic, there was a bit of discontent about that. Some fans obviously weren't happy when he left the club to go down to Leicester, but he's come back and he's delivered what he said he would do. I think what he said when he first arrived back at the club, that to the fans who had gathered outside the stadium, come back in, man, I'll have the title here. And he's obviously delivered that this season. It's not hard without its ups and downs. There's been some really iffy performances and iffy results from Celtic, especially midway through the season, losing games at home, which was normally unthinkable, especially under Ange Postecoglou in the last couple of seasons when they ran away with the title. This one's been a lot more closely contested, and at one point it was out of Celtic's hands, with Rangers having the destiny of the title in their own hands. But they've shown their experience, I think, in this last month of the season. They've gone on a good run, and they've won the big games when they needed to. Winning those Old Firm games has been crucial for Brendan Rodgers' side. So if he can end the season with a League and Cup double, beating Rangers in the final, it'll be a success for Brendan Rodgers. But the big question now for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers is now, can they make an impact in Europe? Because that's what Celtic fans are demanding, that they actually do something in Europe. And if they could qualify out of the group stages of the Champions League, that will be a huge boost to the club going forward. And I think Brendan Rodgers himself, he wants to test himself at the highest level. He won't be happy just getting into the group stages. He'll be hoping to go in there and make an impact. But for that to happen, he's definitely going to need some backing in the transfer market.
Paul, we saw Matt O'Reilly score a brace yesterday. Been unbelievable for Celtic this season. They rejected a bid from Atletico Madrid in January. How much do you think he's worth in today's market? And actually, do you think Celtic should be expecting bids in the summer given his form this season?
Yeah, I mean, you look at him from playing in midfield from where he has. I think he's got 17 goals in total domestically. He's been an excellent player for them. He's been their top scorer domestically. And I think what he gives, the engine that he's got. Listen, if he's playing in a team that's won the Premier League in England, his value is probably double, treble what it is at Celtic. The fact that Celtic are where they are, that there will be a selling club if a big European club comes in. I think the resolve will be tested for him. Yeah, I think you look at him, you look at his age, you look at his ability. I think top clubs will come in, whether it's Atletico Madrid or others. They'll listen. Celtic have got chance of Champions League qualification next season for the knockout stages. That's probably the peak where they want to get to. If they get to the group stages, then if they don't listen, let me rephrase that. If they don't get to the group stages, there may be a case where he leaves the club, an opportunity for him to leave. I think if they get Champions League group stages, then there's a real opportunity that they can keep him and build a team around him. But him, for Ahashi, I think that the bids will come in for them. O'Reilly, I think, would fit into a Premier League team, the way that he plays. He's attacking from midfield. His bursts, his runs into the box. They've got an opportunity to keep him, but I think if they don't need to sell him, they can sit on their hands and wait for a big bid.
One other name to mention, Pete, Adam Eder got on the score sheet yesterday again. What's the likelihood, please, of him staying? Are we expecting him to sign permanently at Celtic Park, or actually do you think the fee might be maybe a bit too much for them and what Norwich value him at?
Yeah, obviously the transfer fee will determine if this move is to happen or not. I think he's had a good impact up at Celtic. He was a bit of a surprise signing in the January transfer window. A lot of Celtic fans were a bit not too enamoured with his signing, hoping for a bigger so-called name than Adam Eder. But yeah, he's done well. He's scored goals. Obviously, he's been playing off the bench as well, but it looks like he's just got his head down and got on with it. And when he's been needed, he has stepped up for Celtic. I'm sure Brendan Rodgers would love to keep him around following his impact right now. And I'm sure Adam Eder on his side will be very much interested in making that move permanent as well. A lot will depend on what happens with Norwich. What league are they going to be in next season? If they're in the Premier League, will they want to keep Adam Eder and maybe have him back? Or I think if they're in the Championship, I think they'll definitely be open to offers for Adam Eder as well. And as I said, Celtic are going to have to be building for the Champions League next season. So getting a player in who's already settled into the club during that loan spell and has had a good impact, he, to me, would be a smart signing for Celtic if they can get him for around £5 million or something like that. I think it would be a decent deal. And he's still quite a young player. You got to remember Adam Eder. So I still think there's room for potential for him to grow. And I think under a good coach like Brendan Rodgers, he could potentially get the best out of him.
And are there any specific goalkeepers, Pete, that Celtic have targeted going into the window? We know that Joe Hart's going to leave; he's retiring in the summer. Are there any names, please, you can give us potentially that they're looking to target?
No real particular names just yet. I'm sure they were looking at the goalkeeper from Bayer Leverkusen, Pence, who's obviously got 1 year left on his contract. He's the modern day goalkeeper, very good with the ball at his feet, can start attacks from the back line as well. Different to Joe Hart. Obviously, Joe Hart is a top goalkeeper, but maybe not the type of goalkeeper that Brendan Rodgers normally wants to work with. Joe Hart maybe not as good with the ball at his feet and everything else, but he's been a great servant to Celtic. He's had a great career, so he'll enjoy his retirement. He's got another medal in his back pocket now from winning the title as well, and he'll be hoping to finish off at Hampden Park in that Scottish Cup final with another trophy as well. But yeah, I think it's a key position for Celtic to resolve this summer, and I'm sure they're looking across Europe and worldwide to see if they can bring in a goalkeeper, and I think they'll probably be looking for a younger one who can maybe become a long-term goalkeeper, because obviously Joe Hart did come to the club at the latter stages of his career as well. So I think Brendan Rodgers will be looking for somebody who potentially could become the number one for the foreseeable future.
And to kind of wrap up totally, Paul, what's your prediction for the cup final, the Old Firm, Celtic v Rangers, now that we know? Can you see Rangers winning the cup double, or actually do you think Celtic are going to go and win both the league and the cup?
Well, Celtic are taking the momentum in, aren't they? They're taking the momentum forward from the league, from triumph, the fantastic 5-0 win this week. You'd expect them to be the team in form. Rangers, the way that they come back the other night against Dundee at home, the lack of fans in the stadium was probably worrying for Rangers. But it's an Old Firm. I mean, Pete touched on it earlier, though, that Celtic have won 3 of the 4 this season. And the other was a 3-3 draw. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a 3-3 draw, wasn't it? So Celtic have definitely got the upper hand, and they will be favourites going into the game. But it's at a neutral venue. And I think for the first time in a long time, we're going to see both sets of supporters inside a stadium, which will be incredible, and it will certainly enhance the game. I'm not going to predict, because it's too hard to predict with both sets of supporters there. Looking at stats, looking at figures, looking at where both teams are at the moment, Celtic are the favourites going into this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers turned up with a big performance. Really difficult one to call.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.